Alright, y'all, so in this video today, I'm going to be talking about how Donald Trump has ruined my business. So as you guys who've been watching the news have probably most definitely saw, he's been announcing tariffs on just about every country that we do trade with. Um, More specifically, I do source my product from China, and so he's put a total of a 20% tariff on all products coming from China, no exceptions. The thing that upsets me most about this is that I wasn't given any reasonable way to prepare for this. In the first set of tariffs, the 10% tariffs, I've spoken to multiple customs brokers, and for the first one that he did in February, the 10% tariff on China, there was an exception for if your product was in transit at the time. However, with the new tariffs that he's launched against China, totaling 20% in March now, there's no exception for a shipment that's in transit. For example, one of the licensed customs brokers that I spoke to has a client who has had his inventory in the customs port or whatever it's called since November of last year, so about 4 months ago, and this person will now be subject to an additional 20% tariff because his goods came from China, regardless of the fact that they arrived in the US 2 months, no, 3 months before these additional 10% tariffs or original 10% tariffs were announced. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be able to claw back any of these tariffs by pretending that the Gulf of Mexico is called the Gulf of America. And I'm one of the only American competitors in my niche. I know you guys might see this and think of me as a middleman because I do source from China, but the fact of the matter is, in my industry, we don't have a domestic industry that produces the products that I sell in the US. There's pretty much no factories that can produce it for a somewhat reasonable price. Even if Trump raises the tariffs on China to 200%, it would still be cheaper for me to source from China. So the argument that this is creating jobs is likely not true at all in this case. Blanket tariffs are just a tax on the consumer, essentially. I am gonna have to raise my prices. The thing about that is, a lot of my Chinese competitors don't play by the rules whatsoever. When they go and write their price on the commercial invoice, let's say it costs them $3 to produce it. In all likelihood, what they're honestly gonna do is, let's say the raw materials cost $1 of that $3, and then the labor costs another $2, so $3 in total. They're just gonna report a price that's slightly above the cost of the raw materials. So these tariffs will disproportionately affect American sellers compared to Chinese sellers. Chinese sellers are notorious for skirting the true price on the commercial invoice document, which is what the tariffs percentage is based off of, that and shipping prices. So when I'm probably going to be paying twice as much in tariffs as my Chinese competitors who have damn near the same product are going to be paying. I'm sure there's some of y'all out there that are going to say, just get a job or just get a real job. So what I wanted to say specifically about that is, although I might not directly employ anybody, although I might not work with a US manufacturer, and I am a really small fish in all honesty, the truth is that even if it's a super small amount, I do give people work. The Amazon delivery drivers or the warehouse workers have to go and get my product. So like I said, I'm a small fish, But I would like to think that even if it's on the smallest scale, smallest percentage, I do indirectly contribute to American jobs. Um, uh, another thing that I've seen, another thing that I've seen is during the election, Trump was threatening to put a 60% blanket tariff on all goods imported from China. So, while we're only at 20% now and it has really wreaked havoc on my business, especially with the unpredictability, tariffs being announced essentially overnight, giving me realistically no way to prepare for this. If those tariffs get up to 40%, I'm not going to be able to compete, truthfully. Um, I won't be able to keep a competitive price compared to my Chinese competitors who are lying about their prices on the commercial invoice just to pay less money in taxes. I truly can't compete with this. In all likelihood, I am probably gonna have to just sell out of the remainder of my inventory for this product and just get a job, in all honesty. I was doing really well, actually. I made my first sale on January 28th. It's March 15th now. For the month of February, I did 8,600 in sales. For the month of March so far, I've done about 6,500 in sales. So my business was on the right track. It was growing. And you know, these tariffs just so disproportionately affect American sellers who are actually honest about the price that they pay compared to these Chinese sellers who aren't going to be honest about the price that they pay. Like I said, I'm already one of the only American competitors in my niche. There might be 2 or 3 other ones in the top 100. And eventually, it's going to be the customers who pay for this additional tariff. In this industry specifically, it's not going to bring any jobs back to the US. Like I said, even with a 200 or 300% tariff, there's just no industry to produce this. It's the sad truth of the situation. I'm probably just going to end up trying to sell my products for break even and maybe try to get new products or different products. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, Donald Trump has ruined my business. And I'm sure some of y'all are gonna say, well, you should have been prepared. Announcing tariffs overnight to go into effect the next day or in 2 days is unprecedented. It's pretty much never been done before in history. Usually, we're given a month warning, like in 2018 when Trump announced the Section 301 tariffs on steel. He gave us, I want to say it was at least 3 to 6 months warning, so we were able to source and prepare, and all that has gone out the window. And in regards to bringing jobs back to the US, it's going to be really hard to convince someone to invest millions of dollars in a production facility when the economic policy is so bipolar. You know, you're saying you're going to tariff goods on Canada and Mexico 25% one day, and it's going to go into effect 2 days from now, and then a week later you change your mind about that, and this cycle plays out over and over again. I just truly don't understand how this bipolar economic policy is going to bring jobs back to the US. Like I said earlier, blanket tariffs are essentially only a tax on the consumer. His whole shtick about China pays these tariffs is quite simply not true, even at the simplest form. When I send in a shipment, I'm the one who foots the bill for the tariffs. It comes off of my credit or debit card. China has nothing to do with paying these tariffs. I know this is a pretty depressing video. I'm pretty sad that in all likelihood I'm gonna lose my business. And I just started it. It was going really well, but you know, we'll see what happens in the future. If these tariffs keep rising, I'll be out of business very soon.